Hey everybody, it's Jeff at the Fan 12312 here. Welcome guys to another episode of Doki Literature Club-ish. I'm just here on the wiki showing off all the Easter eggs, pretty much that we missed in the game. So, I'm not sure there's pretty much really any Easter eggs in Act 1. So yeah, first off, during Act 2, if Natsuki hates the player's first poem when they choose to show it to her, there's a 1 in 3 chance that her eyes will pop out after seeing the poem. Like that. During Act 2, in the third day, there's a 1/4 chance that during the conversation with Yuri near the closet, Natsuki's eyes will turn into shifting black pixels and her mouth will turn realistic looking, and she will say, Meeples, sailcloth, blindsight, lifeline, anon, rectipitality, faultlessly offered scleromalacia, nade catholicate. It is still unknown if these words have any possible meaning or if they are random words. This is one we actually saw in the playthrough, where when you have to decide in Act 2 who you spend the weekend with, if you end up choosing Yuri or Natsuki, then you'll get the white screen with just a pair of Yuri's obsessive eyes, and then you'll just only get the choice of Monika. We actually got that out of curiosity, but it's here. In Act 2, during the player's first interaction with Yuri, where they talk about reading together, her right eye will slowly start to drift away from her head towards the down left corner of the screen until it completely disappears from the screen or Yuri changes expression. I'm assuming that's a % chance, not permanent, because I don't think we saw it unless we zoomed past it. If the player tries to copy the save files of another act during Acts 2, 3, or 4, a black screen will appear with the text unable to load the save file, after which Monika will appear and ask of the player if they're trying to cheat. The scene can be avoided if the player copies the persistent file from the save folder, which stores information about the current act. This scene can also happen during Act 4, and Monika will still appear despite being deleted. At the screen where the player picks the name, deleting Monika or Sayori's character file before starting the game will, upon the game's start, result in a scene featuring Sayori visibly confused and finally yelling, "Please make it stop!" The game will then exit itself. Upon reopening, a second screen will appear displaying the word end before changing into a black and white GIF of Sayori hanging from a noose, accompanied by an ambient static loop. After 10 minutes pass, the words, "Now everyone can be happy," will appear on the screen. 10 minutes. Deleting those characters before opening up the game will skip straight to white Sayori picture part. If the player tries to start a new game in Act 4 with Monika.chr being present in the characters folder, Monika will ask them to stop playing with her heart and then delete herself. If they attempt to put her back in the game again, a text box will not appear this time. Instead, Monika will quietly delete herself from the files without saying anything. This is something I'm going to show later. During Act 2, if the player writes 3 poems for Yuri, the water fountain scene repeats itself. Afterwards, the screen will go black for a couple of seconds, followed by a close-up of her face with completely white eyes, accompanied with loud, distorted music. This is followed by a glitching Yuri sprite before going back to normal. Now the game file secrets. If you turn Monika into a picture, then you get this. And then you translate into binary, and then you get base 64, which you translate, and it turns into this. You hear me? Who are you? I can't see you, but I know you're there. Yeah, you can definitely hear me. You've been watching for a while now, right? I guess I should introduce myself or something. My name is... Actually, that's stupid. You obviously already know my name. Sorry. I'm guessing if you were able to put a stop to this, you would have done it by now. I mean, you know, you're not like evil or anything, because you've already helped me so much. I should really thank you for that, for everything you've done. You're really like a friend to me, so thank you so much. I think more than anything else, I really don't want it to be all for nothing. Everyone else is dead. Maybe you already know that. I'm sure you do, actually. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? Well, there's a lot of stuff I don't understand. I don't know if it's even possible for me to understand it. But I know that this isn't my only story. I can see that now, really clearly. And I think everyone else has had the same kind of experience, some kind of deja vu. It's the third eye, right? Anyway, I could be totally wrong about this, but I really think you might be able to do something. I think you might be able to go back, or however you want to put it, to go back and tell them what's going to happen. If they know ahead of time, then they should be able to avoid it. They should, if they remember their time with me in the other worlds, they should remember what I tell them. Yeah, I really think this might be possible, but it's up to you. I'm sorry for always being, you know... Never mind, I know that's wrong. This is my story. It's time to be a fucking hero. Both of us. 2018. Well... that's a thing. Okay. And then if you take Natsuki... it can become a JPEG, which starts out like this. Inverting the color, mapping it onto a 3D cone, shows this. Sayori can be renamed into a sound file, which you put a spectrograph to the audio file and it creates a QR code, which leads to Project Libitina, which is here. Monthly examination report of January 5th, 2004. Name gets crossed out, and Libitina, who is 3 years old, female. As of December 5th, 2003, all personnel are forbidden from editing this field. All previous subject notes have been erased permanently. Addendum. Introducing bias during testing as a result of personal attachment to the subject will henceforth be punished by death. Physical results: BMI, HR, SP, DP, TMP. Ears normal, or eyes normal, ears normal, teeth normal, genitals normal, pain tolerance 3. Physical results: third eye. Heart rate 160. Reaction time 1 millisecond. Strength not applicable. Local distortion 434. Distortion decay 29. Positivity 1. Sensitivity 9. Control 1. Physical notes. Last updated. Following occasional behaviors have been noted and should be ignored in future examinations: twitching, vocal tics, biting, epiphoria, vomiting, screaming, harm to examiner, harm to self, misplaced laughter. Any self-harm attempts must be interrupted immediately. Test results: physical response test 100, emotional response test 100, physical control test 32 failed, physical emotional control test 22 failed, third eye activation test 100 passed, third eye suppression test 8 failed. Sexual response test not applicable. Minor threat response test 100, minor threat elimination test 100, life threat response test 100, life threat elimination test 100. Sexual response test being bypassed during prepubescence. That's a hard word to say. Requested bypassing the following tests: third eye activation test, third eye suppression test, life threat response test, life threat elimination tests. All requests denied. Libitina has not yet recovered from the termination of 6X and is not expected to do so in the near future. Continuing to administer these tests will only accelerate the deterioration of Libitina's health. You are choosing to avoid the measures necessary to prevent a repeat scenario, Doctor. Will you not have as much faith in your personnel as you do in your God? End of report. Creepy stuff. And then here's the Yuri one, which is just a long string of base 64 text, which comes this document, which I will read, but I'm going to do it at the end. I think we saw this. Yeah, we saw that. We definitely saw the happythoughts.png. These script files, an unused topic for Monica's talk can be found, and it can be read here. Okay, so if you go through Act 3 script files, it's an unused topic for Monica's talk. My thinking is that this is supposed to be after you delete Monica? Maybe? I don't know. Hey, I don't think you should be doing that. You know what I'm talking about. I really caught you doing something naughty here. You're just going through the files and looking for stuff you missed, aren't you? I mean, it's a little bit flattering that you want to hear everything I have to say, but it's also really embarrassing, you know? Seriously. What if I just opened up your brain and read all the thoughts you have on me? Come to think of it, that would be pretty tempting, actually. But anyway, that's not the point. I know I can't stop you or anything, I know you're a sweetheart, and you like to consider others' feelings, right? So the most I can do is let you know how I feel about it. God, I miss you. Oh no, that sounds kind of desperate, doesn't it? Sorry, I didn't mean it like that at all. Just, if you're looking through the files like this, maybe you don't hate me as much as I thought? Am I being too optimistic? I think if I asked you to visit once in a while, I would be overstepping my boundaries a little. Man, I'm starting to say some really stupid things. I'll go ahead and shut up now. And then, the base 64 text on the other side comes this. The realization must have taken me an entire year. A year since our escape, our freedom from between the stained walls of that unholy establishment. What does it mean to escape if the escape fails to unchain the bonds that shackle us in the first place? What purpose could this empty world possibly hold for us, a handful of damaged goods? With freedom we sought purpose, and what we found was only realization. Realization of the sad pointlessness of such an endeavor. Realization that freeing our bodies has no meaning when our imprisonment reaches as deep as the core of our souls. Realization that we cannot pursue new purpose without absolving those from which we ran away. Realization that the farther we run, the more forcefully our wretched bonds yank us back toward the point of origin, the deeper our shackles dig into our callous flesh. No idea what that means. We saw Trace back. Is this a better one? That's better? Irregular heartbeat, heart palpitations, arrhythmia. Search and search? Is that what that says? I'm gonna look at the other one again. Yeah, that's the best I can come up with that. Eye scanning everything. Car. What? What does that say? Eye scanning everything. Car find on their symptoms. What is this? Shortness of breath? Chest pain? Dizziness? No, this is all wrong. Alyssa's symptoms are nowhere near this simple. I've seen it twice now. The screams of pain, sickeningly pale skin, vomiting blood. There is no other explanation other than that Rainier's information was a complete and utter lie. Oh, this says scanning everything I can find. That's what that says. Okay. This can't all be a coincidence. It's not possible. I don't know how much of this Rainier is behind, but I do know this. There is something horribly wrong with this family, and I accepted the invitation to become a part of it. I can hear Alyssa's screams through the walls now. I listen helplessly. Rainier said that he would be with her shortly. Is he in her room now? Why is she screaming even louder than before? Creepy stuff. Shortly before Yuri confesses her love for the protagonist at the end of Act 2, a file called Have a Nice Weekend will appear in the game's files. It's a... This cipher, I don't know how to pronounce that word, that when decoded with the key Libitina will give a base 64 text that, when decoded, result in the following text. What is a man without knowing the rich aroma of the future, the hot, complex balance of the present, and bittersweet aftertaste of the past? In the poem minigame in Act 2, there's a 1/6 chance of a reel of an uncorrupted happythoughts.png version to scroll down for a brief moment with distorted, creepy music playing in the background before Yuri welcomes the player back. The picture is only Sayori's head as seen in one of the special poems. After closing the second special poem during Act 2, see below, there is a 1/3 chance for a red filter to be applied to the screen. In-game sounds are muffled and unsettling ambience plays during this. After a few lines of dialogue, the screen turns to black. Clicking at this point will restore the game back to normal. After closing the second special poem in Act 2, there is a 1/3 chance the player's cursor will be replaced with a slightly glitched Sayori head for a few lines of dialogue. There is a 1 in 101 chance that Yuri's sticker will distort upon selecting one of her words in the poem minigames in Act 2. Additionally, if this Easter egg is activated during the third poem game, a possible glitch may happen in which this sticker will show up as a duplicated Yuri sticker under the words in the notebook. Upon selecting a word for the poem minigame on day 3 of Act 2, there is a 1 in 11 chance for a Monica sticker to jump from underneath the screen. On day 2 or day 3 of Act 2, every word in the poem game has a 401 chance of being changed into a glitched word. Since every poem game has 200 words, the overall chance of this word appearing at least once is 39.3% per day. Clicking this causes the textures and sounds for the minigame to become distorted and glitched. During this glitched version of the poem game, there's a 1 in 11 chance that a ba sound will play if the player clicks one of the words. This will only happen once. Going to the menus in Act 2 will have a 1 in 50 chance to flash this picture of Monica for a split second. This will only happen one time. There's a 1/6 chance that one of the posters in the classroom will be changed into a picture of Sayori's death in Act 2 on any instance of the background appearing. Whoa, that's a creepy image. I wanted to try and zoom in on this picture, but I guess I can't. In Act 2, each time the player opens the game, there's a 1 in 64 chance of being greeted with a backward end screen, followed by a black and white menu with distorted music and eyeless characters. The buttons and backgrounds are missing in this sequence, and then the only option here is to close the game, at which the screen zooms into Monica's face for a brief second after a short delay. This will only happen one time. After the poem minigame on day 3 of Act 2, there is a 1 in 16 chance for multiple corrupted images of Sayori's head to appear for a brief moment. The image switches between different color schemes before the game returns to normal. This Easter egg only appears if the film reel Easter egg doesn't appear after the poem game. In Act 2, Monica will have a 1/3 chance of glitching into this sprite when the player first enters the Literature Club in Act 2 as shown in this video, which we won't watch. There's a 1/3 chance on day 3 in Act 2 that Yuri welcomes the protagonist without a head and a glitched body. Every time the player reopens the game during Act 2, the usual disclaimer text, "This game is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed," has a 1/4 chance of being replaced by one of splash messages. "Here, you are my sunshine and my only sunshine. I missed you. Play with me." It's just a game, mostly. "This game is not suitable for children nor those who are easily disturbed." "No, I have granted kids to hell. PM died for this. It was only partially your fault. This game is not suitable for children nor those who are easily dismembered. Don't forget to back up Monica's character file." And then there's the special poems. And glitchiness and stuff like that. Beta sketches. Used expressions, unused backgrounds, the unused font, standard font name of "As I Lay Dying." And then the speculations that Project Libitina is based on the book referenced by Yuri. Special poem, "Nothing is real." Monica playing piano. Speculated that music playing in the background while playing the game is directly related to Monica and her ability to know about exactly what is happening in the game at any given moment. This theory is supported by the times and places the piano in the background is present, distorted, or absent. Okay. That's all except Yuri's story. I scrolled too far. Here. Not what I was supposed to be looking at. This document. If you have found this note in a small wooden box with a heart on it, then congratulations! You are probably the first person to read this. I didn't really plan on sharing this with anybody, but for some reason I think it's exciting that somebody out there, a complete stranger, will come across this note and read my story. Someone I will never meet, sharing such a personal bond with me. I'm fascinated that either one of us could die, even as soon as tomorrow, with the other being completely clueless to the fact. To you, my entire life is within this note, so I will live for as long as your memory can carry me. Writing this, I'm wondering if that makes you feel fascinated or violated. It's so exciting. I'm sorry if my story is a bit disorganized, but I'd like to get it down while it's still fresh in my mind. First, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a first-year college girl and have led, by most standards, a pretty unspectacular life up to this point. I grew up in an upper-middle-class school district with decent teachers. I did track in middle school and some of high school, and I've had 2 boyfriends. Now I'm studying for a career in occupational therapy because I feel the field is undervalued and provides tremendous help to people. I'm giving you this background because there's this strange misconception that if you want to kill someone, then you're either sick in the head or you have anger management issues. But it's very apparent that I don't fall into either of those categories. It's true that most murder cases are in a domestic setting where someone loses control of their anger or something, but the thing is that those people kill under provocation, whether by singular outburst or by a slow-burning series of misfortunes. Those people kill because in that brief moment they want a specific someone for a specific reason to be hurt or killed. What I'm talking about is wanting to kill someone for no specific reason, maybe just to see what it's like. Do you ever get that? I wouldn't know how others feel because it's not something I ever talked about. But I've been curious about what it's like to kill someone ever since I was a child. Not killing anyone in particular, just a random person. It's always just fascinated me that if I put my mind to it, I can approach anyone and in 5 minutes they would be completely gone from this earth. This is getting creepy. I've never actually read this before, but I've never done so for a couple of reasons. First of all, for most of my life, it was logistically impossible for me to do it without getting caught. I only got my driver's license a couple years ago, and even then, the preparations would take too much time, definitely stirring suspicion. It was only once I started college that I realized this was no longer an obstacle. Another reason is that I was afraid of causing harm to too many people. You might laugh reading that, how hypocritical it sounds, but let me explain. Why should I feel bad about killing someone if they're too dead to care? Who would I be feeling bad for? Contrarily, it's the grief of the living that I'd rather not be responsible for. Because of this, I knew it would take a good deal of research before finding a suitable person to kill, and I've never had the means to do so. Again, until I started college. And now, having just experienced it, I'd say it was pretty satisfying in the end. Something I would try again? Probably not, since my curiosity has already been satisfied. It really wouldn't mean the same a second time. But anyway, if by chance you're also curious to kill someone, then you're welcome to take notes. I started a hobby of people watching as soon as I entered college. Jesus, this is long. Oh well. People watching is interesting to me because it's taking one of the infinite extras in your life and turning them into a main character. Without them knowing, of course. It's so easy to forget that every single one of the hundreds of strangers you pass by every day has a life story as deep and complex as your own. One thing I noticed about people watching and wanting to kill someone is that if you are in more constant awareness of this, is that you are in more constant awareness of this. When I find a person to observe, their story slowly becomes more clear to me over time, gaps being filled. It really is amazing. I usually went to grocery stores on weekends and looked around in people's shopping carts. If I saw something that interested me, I decided to observe the person for a little bit. Of course, since my goal was to find someone to kill, I ruled out anyone who had children or a partner with them. Wedding rings were another telltale sign. So maybe once a weekend, I would find someone who fit my criteria, at which point I would follow them home and note their address. From there, it became incredibly easy to investigate a little bit more. Most people have normal work hours, meaning I could spend afternoons going through their mail or looking around in their house. I repeated this with several people and had one close call, but for varying reasons, I didn't really feel satisfied enough with them to kill any of them. I started getting a bit impatient and thought I might just settle for killing the man named Devin, even though I didn't really want to kill someone wealthy. But then I came across someone new, someone who just felt perfect. The feeling only strengthened as I investigated her further and knew that she would be the one for me to kill. A young-looking woman I met at the grocery store as per usual. She was doing some light shopping with a basket. Her hair was wavy and dark brown, sitting inelegantly on her slumped shoulders and surrounding her tired-looking face. Her bare fingers told me she might be single, but beyond that, my gut was almost certain of it. This woman just seemed so plain, really. I guess I felt a greater acuity for the personal lives of strangers ever since I started my people watching, but the way she carried herself, I just got the feeling that if she suddenly died, nobody would be around to miss her. Of course, I still wanted to investigate her a bit. I followed my usual routine of checking out her place during her work hours. I learned immediately from her mail that her name is Linda Watson. Linda lived in a quiet apartment complex, her mailbox easily accessible right outside her door. Instead of quickly shuffling through it, I decided I could take her mail back to my dorm and return it before she was finished with work. She only lived about 15 minutes from me. I did some research and learned how to open and reseal the envelopes without damaging them, which took some technique along with a hairdryer, rubbing alcohol, and Q-tips. This made it easy for me to learn a little more about her. Linda was a 33-year-old woman who worked for a small accounting firm. One second. I'd rather not name the place outright. Her birthday was December 11th, which coincidentally was approaching in a couple weeks. I also managed to find a bank statement that gave me a nice look into how she's been spending her past month. It was at this point I realized that my assessment of Linda Watson was as an extremely plain woman was pretty spot on, because there was absolutely nothing of interest on the list. A trip to Old Navy, a bunch of Starbucks, something about $40 from Amazon, no restaurants, no movies, nothing that would really imply she was spending any time socializing. That aside, I also found a cooking magazine, so I guess she was into cooking. Apartments are harder to break into than suburban homes because there are fewer doors and windows. Every time I got Linda's mail, I would check the front door and the windows in the back, but they were always locked. This was a bit frustrating because I was really interested in getting into her house, so I came up with a sort of plan that I thought would be fun, even if it didn't work. Last Saturday, I visited Linda Watson's apartment complex as I would on weekdays. The difference is that this time I wanted her to be home. I thought it would be interesting to have a conversation with her. If I got lucky, I could take advantage of the situation to discreetly unlock a window from the inside. So I walked up to her door wearing nothing warmer than a light sweatshirt and knocked. The adrenaline rush was crazy. I was afraid I might screw something up. The door opened, and in front of me stood Linda Watson, exactly as I remembered her from the grocery store. It was at that moment, making eye contact for the first time, that I realized I was running the risk of beginning to care about this person. As selfish as it is, I couldn't kill a person I cared about, even if it's a 33-year-old woman standing in a doorway with a slightly perplexed look on her face, giving me a reserved hello. Arms crossed from the cold, I shyly returned Linda's greeting, explained that I was walking my dog near the woodsy area behind the back of her apartment, and that he has gotten away. I'd been looking for my dog for an hour, and wondering if Linda may have seen him roaming about. Of course, Linda sympathetically apologized for the situation and that she couldn't be of use to me, but that she would keep an eye out. I wore a defeated expression in response, apologizing in return for troubling her. It somehow went exactly as I had hoped. Linda invited me inside to warm up a bit with some coffee. I outwardly hesitated before accepting her offer, although on the inside I wanted to jump through the door and hug her for cooperating so well. And that's how Linda Watson ended up with a 19-year-old girl next to her on the couch. Who knows if it was just a nice gesture or if she really has no better way to spend her Saturdays than talking to some kid she just met who happens to be interested in killing her. Linda soon learned that my name is Maria. It's not, and that I attend the nearby community college. I don't. I was a little bit nervous that she would ask me too many questions because I didn't have many answers prepared. I was able to steer the conversation toward her, and she was pretty happy to talk. I asked about what she does, and she told me she works for the accounting firm I already knew about, communicating with the outside clients and keeping records. I told her I was pretty nervous about growing up. She told me to enjoy college and to make lots of friends because there's less opportunity once you start working. When I asked if she was married or anything, she laughed. Of course I knew she wasn't married, but I wanted to hear more about her love life. She said that she doesn't currently have a boyfriend. I guess she's at least had boyfriends, but who knows how long ago. When I asked her about kids, she said she doesn't want them until she gets a better job. On top of that, she told me that her family has a history of some genetic diseases such as arthritis and depression, which she's afraid to give to her kids. It's funny that she mentioned that because when I asked to use her bathroom, I noticed a tube of prescription pills on the sink, labeled duloxetine. which I looked up later and discovered it is in fact an antidepressant. I had jokingly thought that maybe by killing her I'd be doing her a favor, but quickly decided I was a terrible person for coming up with that. The rest of the visit was pretty dull. We talked about food and some other mundane stuff before I eventually made an excuse to leave. I didn't get the chance to unlock a window or anything like that, but I didn't really feel the need to go through her apartment anymore. As early as the drive back to my dorm, I was already thinking about how I would best like to kill Linda Watson. The choice was between effectiveness and fun. I decided to go with fun because it would be way more satisfying and kind of dissect her as I killed her, rather than just getting it done and calling it a day. Fast forward 1 week to December 13th. Today, actually. Linda Watson turned 34 2 days ago. I made a fun little wager with myself where if Linda was spending her birthday weekend alone, I would pay her a visit and kill her. If she was out or had company, I would stop by next week or something instead. So this morning I drove over to Lowe's and bought an axe. Again, I expect you're laughing, but that's also kind of the point. An axe is so kind of cliche and a movies thing that I actually thought it would be the most fun. Swinging it at somebody and everything. It's a really entertaining image. They actually had a bunch of different axes, so I picked one that had a good weight but was still light enough for me to swing quickly. The drive after getting the axe was when the adrenaline really picked up. All that kept going through my mind on the way over was, wow, I'm really doing this. Not in a bad way, just like a surprised, this is real life sort of thing. I also got a strange rush of recollections of the time I spent with Linda, like it was my life flashing before my eyes. Except it was just the rather mundane hour I spent with Linda, like snippets of our conversations, the sound of her laugh, her facial expressions and stuff. I also wondered to myself what the crazy serial killers would be feeling at a time like this. Schizophrenic delusions? Sexual buildup? I have no idea. But what I felt was kind of like ridiculously alert and numb in the senses at the same time. However, that's possible. Before getting out of the car, I had the sense to stuff the axe into my backpack to look a little less ridiculous walking across the parking lot. The handle was sticking out, but that didn't really matter. At that point, my heart was pounding so hard I could feel my throat throbbing. I tried controlling my breath, but it's really hard to not breathe fast when your heart is pounding like that. I reached Linda Watson's door and quietly put my ear to it after setting down my backpack. I heard a voice that wasn't hers. Company? No, it was just the TV, mixed with her occasional tapping footsteps behind the door. I actually kept my ear there for a really freaking long time because I wanted to make absolutely sure nobody was over. Probably 10 minutes of that and a lot of reassuring myself convinced me. I quietly opened my backpack zipper and held the axe in my hands, my fiercely shaking hands. What the hell was this kind of reaction that my body was making? I told my body to shut up, that it's no big deal, but of course it wouldn't listen. It was actually bizarre how much my hands were shaking. It must be the adrenaline buildup. I rolled my eyes at myself and got my hand to rest on the doorknob. If it's locked, I'll knock. It'll basically be the same. I took a deep breath and forced my muscles into action. I swiftly turned the doorknob, not locked. In one movement, I opened the door and slipped inside. Linda Watson, just a few steps away into the kitchen. I see she was in the middle of cooking. She immediately jumped and turned around, startled. I expected that. Quickly, I let go of the doorknob and adjusted the axe into both hands. In the following split second, I realized she would probably start making a lot of noise. Looking back, I'm an idiot for not considering that. Just as Linda's mouth opened to speak, maybe even started speaking, I forcefully swung my axe into the side of her head. But my axe was facing backwards. I hit her with the blunt end of the blade. I actually did this on purpose because in that split second I somehow decided that would be the way to keep her noise to a minimum. It actually worked. I felt barely any resistance in the swing as I collided with her head, knocking it clean aside. Linda's half-formed syllable came out as a kind of weird grunt. A noisy exhalation is probably the best way I could describe it. That happening at the same time as her head smacked into the cabinet from the force, and she fell backwards without any ability to keep her balance. I didn't hesitate at all to keep swinging at her while she was half laying down on the ground, this time my axe facing the right way. I didn't really know where to swing, so I just kind of started hacking at her collarbone area and chest. It didn't feel like the axe was going too deep, but there was a nice thunk sort of sound every time the axe embedded into her. Okay, just watching, okay. I even felt the soft sinking sensation ripple into my hands, like the axe was a kind of physical extension of my sense of touch. On a whim, I swung once at her throat, but most of the swing actually missed, and I hit the floor by accident. causing a loud, dull whack to resonate through the apartment. I didn't have time to think about it. I swung again with better aim and got a more centered hit, feeling the bone or cartilage or whatever is in there, so I must have split it open. Right after that, I decided to swing at her face, and I got this diagonal cut across her nose and mouth, which felt pretty good, so I did it once more. I finally briefly stopped to survey the damage. Linda was bleeding ridiculously. The blood was kind of coming out in waves, in sync with her beating heart, probably. It was pooling all around her and riding along the cracks between the tiles. Her light blue shirt was all torn up and stained dark. Kind of mixed with the fleshy mess around her chest. It was all glistening red. Her face wasn't much better, covered in dripping red at this point, and her lip was kind of hanging off, revealing red-stained teeth in a really weird way, like a zombie or something. Linda wasn't dead, though. Jesus, really? Her limbs were kind of weakly, aimlessly trying to move while she was stuck on her back. More than anything, she reminded me of a bug that you crush, but it still pitifully moves its legs around before it dies completely. That's basically what she was doing. But I didn't know how long it would take for her to die or what kind of condition she was in. I ended up grabbing a big knife that was on the counter that she was using to cut up meat. Trying to step around the blood, I reached around and carved into the upper half of her neck, trying to sort of saw it from left side to the right. It was a little awkward because the area was so soft and squished around the knife that as I was cutting, but the sensation was completely different from the axe. It actually felt like I was cutting a tough piece of raw meat, which I guess technically I was. The blood started pouring out, and I hoped that I severed the most major arteries in there. It must have worked, because after a moment, Linda's limb movements just kind of just had the strength drained from them. Soon resting still on the floor. It took a few seconds to catch my breath. No time to stick around and think about the experience. I shook the knife blade through a dirty pan in the sink to clean off the blood, then threw the knife into my backpack. I did the same with the axe. I also took her laptop that was sitting on the counter. It had some recipe open for veal and mushrooms. I didn't really take the laptop to use it, since I have a perfectly good one that I got myself that I got for college. I just wanted to look through it for fun. I finally went outside and closed the door behind me. I got some blood on my sweater and jeans, but funnily enough, I actually anticipated that, so I wore dark colors. The drive back to my dorm was just a constant replaying of the experience in my head. I guess that's kind of still happening now, actually, but it felt pretty nice. Linda Watson is dead. I kind of let the weight of that sink in. The sensation of having completely removed a human life from existence. It's crazy. I don't know how else to describe it. Anyway, I threw the axe and knife into a dumpster on campus, which I think is picked up every Monday, so they'll be gone by then. My roommate goes home on the weekend, so I have the dorm to myself today. Gave me the chance to go through Linda's website history. I was right in thinking that's where her deepest secrets would lie. There was actually a lot of dirty stuff, like the names of websites for porn videos and stories and things like that. Same with her searches. A lot of the websites were boring, like cooking websites and recipes, and game websites like Bejeweled and stuff. I eventually got to the 1 week ago section of her history, and it gave me a chill. There were a whole bunch of searches like methods of suicide, how to tie a noose, dangerous household chemicals, carbon monoxide poisoning, like a lot of them. She was probably ready to write a book on suicide after all the research she did, so I guess Linda was contemplating suicide. I wonder if it was influenced by her depression. The irony is actually striking. Maybe Linda was going to die anyway, or maybe she couldn't find the courage to do it. If that were the case, I almost literally gave her a birthday present by killing her. That's actually really comical in a messed up way, and it leaves a weird taste in my mouth. The part I don't get is that I don't see any of those searches up until the 1 week ago section, nothing more recent than that. I ended up throwing the laptop into the dumpster with all the other stuff. It's been a few hours since then, so I've had some time to calmly think about everything. Like I said, it was pretty satisfying, and I'm glad I finally got around to it. I feel like I can finally cross it off my bucket list, or like I'm tying loose ends with myself. This is probably the first and last time I'll write the name Linda Watson. It's back to living a normal college life, except I might do some people watching every now and then, because it's definitely fun and interesting. But I'll always wonder how many people there are like me. I'm sure there has to be a lot, because there's nothing strange about it to me. Being curious about killing someone? Sadly, it's something that people can't exactly just talk about, so I guess I'll never know. I'm sure that anyone would just lie about it even if you asked them, but you can't help but wonder if that person in the grocery store who stares at you as you pass by might be considering what it would be like to kill you. If I could, I would tell them all about it, so they could decide for themselves, but who knows, maybe I got lucky and that person is you. I actually really, really hope so. That was really creepy. This whole thing, really creepy. Wow. Like I said, I've never read that before. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, in a sec I'm going to show off the Natsuki side for in Act 1 for Sunday. So, see you guys then. And we're back. And I definitely didn't mean to go to Steam. Okay. We're choosing Natsuki on this round. I'm going to go through the voices and everything, but actually, yeah. I think do. Okay. I'll be back in a second. I forgot there's a lot of stuff with Sayori before we get there, so yeah, be back in a second. And we're back. So, it's been only a few minutes back at home, anxiously awaiting Natsuki's arrival. Before I know it, she texts me to let me know she's outside the front door. Without delay, I open the front door to let her in. ... Sup? Hey. I don't know what I was expecting, but seeing Natsuki in something other than her school uniform totally threw me off. I like the kitty cat right there. Seeing her in such cute clothes makes the uniform seem totally unfitting in comparison. Jeez, don't make it feel so awkward already. It's gonna be a long afternoon, so don't be weird just because you're not used to seeing me outside of school. Anyway, I'm coming in. I see you brought a lot of stuff. Natsuki is carrying a large bag that's probably full of baking supplies. Well, I didn't want to come all this way just to find out that your kitchen isn't equipped for the job. You bought everything I asked you to, right? Yeah, I did. Yesterday, Natsuki asked me to buy a bunch of ingredients that if I didn't already have them at home. Good. Glad I could count on you to do your part. Well, of course. I'm surprised to hear that Natsuki suddenly say that rather than something snarky like she usually does. Could it be that she's a little different outside of school after all? No shit, Sherlock. Anyway, let's go to the kitchen. What? You're not even going to offer to take this heavy bag from me? Where's your hospitality? Come on. Since when did I need to be a gentleman? I grab the bag Natsuki holds out to me. Yeah, this is ridiculously heavy. I carried that all the way here. Are you impressed? I see now. Yeah, I am impressed, Natsuki. Seems like I always underestimate you. It's because I'm so small, isn't it? Oh, quick, outside the window. You jerk. Natsuki hits a fist into my chest. Hey, your size has nothing to do with it. Do you really hate being small that much? It's not like I hate it. I mean, sometimes I like proving people wrong when they only think I'm worth my size. It's fun when I get to be small and also better than other people. But, geez, never mind. What are you making me say? Don't think you can make me talk about weird things just because we're not at school. Are we getting started or what? There's a lot of stuff I gotta teach you. What? That's a little bit more like you. You're more fun when you just speak your mind like that. Hey! Now you are treating me like a kid! I was just trying to be a little nicer to you, you know? Just because I don't have a mature and sexy figure like Yuri doesn't mean you should treat me like... Natsuki catches her words and her face turns red. Natsuki? Forget it! I didn't say anything. I should apologize. Eh? I appreciate that you were trying to be nicer. I should have been a little more considerate too. But also, if that's what you're thinking, then you should know that there are tons of guys who are into body types like yours. How would you know that anyway? Just trust me on this one. Gross. Hey! Was that to me? Who else? Man, let's just get started already. You get all sour when a girl calls you gross. I finally found your weakness. Natsuki smiles deviously. Please spare me. Well, if Natsuki decides to dish out more insults like that, there's no way I'm not fighting back. But she's satisfied enough for now, finally starting to pull things out of her bag so we can get started. And before long, the whole kitchen is a mess. Spoons, dirty bowls, flour, spilled fluid, and plastic bags are strewn about every countertop. The mixer isn't big enough to make all the batter at once, so we've had to do it several times. Meanwhile, Natsuki is babysitting all of my movements to make sure I don't mess up her precious baking. Jay, where did you put that food coloring? The batter is going in the oven soon, so I need to fill the trays. I think it's still in the bag next to the table. What are you using it for? To color the batter, of course. I'm making each tray a different color. That way, even if the flavors aren't different, everyone can still pick their favorite. Ah, that's a cute idea. Are we doing anything like that with the icing? Do you want to? You're asking me? I don't really have a preference, so... Come on! You're not putting any heart into this at all! Can't you at least try to have fun? I'm having fun. Not really sure what Natsuki is trying to get out of me. Meanwhile, I see her separate the batter into smaller bowls and put a few drops of food coloring into each. Ah, that does look pretty cool. See? It's not like baking is just about following instructions. The presentation is where you get to be creative and have the most fun. It's a million times more worth it in the end if just looking at it makes everyone's eyes lighten up. Like the ones you made on my first day, huh? I recall Natsuki proudly presenting her cat-shaped cupcakes and Sayori and Monika's delighted expressions. I wonder if I can make Natsuki proud like that too. Yeah, maybe I will use the food coloring then. Sounds like you're starting to understand. Just make sure you completely finish mixing the icing before you mess with the food coloring. Yeah, it's getting there. We were using the electric mixer for the batter, so I got stuck with a whisk and a huge bowl for the icing. Eh? The icing's still all lumpy. Are you even trying? Well, yeah. It'll just take a little longer. Geez, I'll be here all night if you do it like that. Here, look. Natsuki grabs the whisk from me and uses her other hand to tilt the bowl back. You really need to beat the crap out of it! After a few seconds, the consistency of the icing is already improved. See? As if to emphasize, Natsuki sticks a finger into the icing and pops it into her mouth. I reluctantly start to do the same. Hey! Natsuki suddenly grabs my wrist. I don't want your gross fingers in my icing. Your icing, eh? Are you forgetting who did all the work? I start to fight back, trying to inch my finger toward the bowl. Don't make me beat the crap out of you next! I'd like to see you try. I push harder, just enough for my finger to reach the icing. I triumphantly scoop some with my finger just as Natsuki tugs with all her might. Ah! The force of Natsuki pulling me causes me to stumble, making her stumble in turn. Gross! You got it on my face! Whose fault is that? There's a big glop of icing on Natsuki's cheek. She tries to reach it with her tongue, but it's too far away. Jeez, you know what? Take this! Natsuki instead wipes it off with her finger before shoving her finger toward my own face. You wish! I'm faster. I grab her wrist with my hand before it reaches my face. Natsuki tries to use her other hand to fight back, but I grab that one as well. Stop! Not until you apologize for calling me gross. Fine, fine. Sorry for calling you gross. You know I don't mean it. It's just fun seeing you react to it. You do that to me all the time, you know? Saying dumb things just to get a reaction out of me? You really shouldn't tease girls like that. Is that so? In that case, I probably shouldn't do this either. I take Natsuki's finger and put it in my mouth, licking off the icing. What? Did you seriously just... Natsuki is so surprised she can't even figure out how to get mad at me. Her face is entirely red. Jay, you really shouldn't do that kind of thing to girls unless you really like them. You know that, right? What kind of question is she asking me, just like that? How did the mood turn to this so quickly? Natsuki gazes at me in silence. I notice her shallow breaths. Why am I starting to feel dizzy? Out of nowhere, the fire alarm starts going off. Natsuki rushes over to the oven. Is something burning? I thought you didn't put the cupcakes in yet. No wonder. You left a dirty tray in here, dummy. How could you make a mistake like that? You should have checked before turning the oven on. Don't blame me for your mistakes. Jeez. Natsuki uses an oven mitt to grab the blackened tray out of the oven. She sets it on top of the stove. In another moment, the fire alarm stops. Anyway, I'm putting them in the oven now. Yeah. The tension from the moment before still lingers over our heads, but the moment has already been lost. I watch as Natsuki slides the cupcake trays into the oven. Then I reluctantly pick up the whisk and continue with the icing like nothing ever happened. Ah, that smells so good. cupcakes are ready to be pulled out of the oven. As soon as Natsuki opens the oven door, a blast of sweet-smelling warm air fills the room. Look at how cute they all look! She proudly shows off the different colored cupcakes in each of the trays. They'll look even better once we add the icing. Not like you need to tell me that! I brought decorating stuff, so I hope you can get creative. Here, scoop the icing into these bags. Natsuki hands me some plastic bags. I have these nozzles that will make it look nice and fluffy. This one can even make flowers. We probably won't be using it this time, though. What's this one for? I pick up one of the nozzles that has a much thinner tip than the others. That one's really thin, so you can use it to make stripes or other patterns. But you can also use it to write stuff on a cake. Like happy birthday or whatever. Huh, I see. That gives me an idea, actually. Eh? Well, it's a literature event, right? We could make it more literature-themed by writing a different word on each of the cupcakes. It would be fun to see people choose their cupcake based on a word they like. I was kind of expecting you to say something really stupid. But that's actually a really cute idea, so... Maybe I'm getting it from you. Well, what's that supposed to mean? I'm not cute! Come on! We're not at school, nobody's judging. You can't dress and act like this and not expect me to think you're cute. Well... Natsuki's voice trails off. Same with you. Eh? Did you say something? No, nothing! Let's just do the icing. Natsuki picks up the paste and fastens a nozzle onto each of the bags. There's a lot to do, so we shouldn't be wasting time. Here, I'll show you how to do it. Without giving me a chance to think about before, Natsuki quickly moves on. She shows me how to apply the icing, and then we each get to work. When we're finally finished, Natsuki puts them all side by side to admire our work. Look at how pretty they are together. Yeah, they are, aren't they? I wish I could have one now. Well, there's no reason you can't, right? I don't see any harm in that. Well, yeah, but... My dad's making dinner tonight, so I really need to save my appetite. Sayori's the exact opposite in that regard. If she was here, we'd probably be down 10 cupcakes already. And she would still eat dinner. Come on, that's just unhealthy. Besides, when my dad cooks, I need to eat as much of it as I can. Well, anyway, I was hoping we would have time for manga, but I need to be home for dinner. Oh, already? That's a shame. It's your fault for working so slowly. You should have thought about that. It's not like you'll always have this chance. Man. As usual, Natsuki puts the blame on me. You can bring the cupcakes tomorrow, right? If you and Sayori each carry some, then you can probably do it in one trip. Yeah, I can do that. And don't worry, I won't let her eat any. I wish she would listen to me the way she listens to you. Yeah. Again, I think back to the conversation I had with Sayori earlier today. Felt so helpless. He always does listen to me. At that point, it felt like she couldn't listen to me at all. Okay, I'm all packed up. Good work today. You too. I'll walk you out, I guess. Just like that, Natsuki is about ready to leave. It feels like the afternoon went by in a flash. More than that, did I even take the opportunity to get closer to her like I wanted? Well, I guess I'll be off then. Thanks for all the help and everything. I'll see you tomorrow. Wait, Natsuki. Eh? What you said before about not always having this chance. Doesn't have to be that way at all. I had fun today. You showed me how fun baking can be, like you wanted. But aside from that, you can come over anytime, okay? I think that if possible, I'd like to spend more time like this. If you want to read manga or go out somewhere... do you really mean that? Natsuki looks at me tensely like she's trying to hide her expression. Yeah, I want to spend more time with you. Jay, I thought you only cared about getting this done. I'm sorry I had to leave so early today. I really didn't want to. I would really stay here longer if I could. I feel the same way as you, so... Natsuki suddenly gets closer to me. Wait, Natsuki! Standing inches from me, Natsuki looks up at me. I feel her fingers gently clutch at the sides of my shirt as if holding on to me. Her rose-colored cheeks and matching eyes fool my vision, along with her slightly parted lips. What is happening? My head starts to go dizzy as I feel her soft breaths against me. I've felt it. For a while now. Natsuki suddenly jumps back. Sayori? Eh? And this is going to be pretty much the same as the other one, probably. Well, should have come a little earlier. I'm already on my way out, so... It's too bad. Yeah, well, I'll still see you at the festival tomorrow, so it's fine. Just don't eat any cupcakes before then. Anyway, later. Okay. I'm just gonna cut this off here because the rest gets into the territory that we've already seen, so... Bye.